Welcome back to Power and Politics. Well, we've been talking a lot this week about Tiger Woods' return to the professional golf circuit. Scott Reid and Jaime Watt, political veterans, have been watching it all unfold with keen interest. They're ready to give us their 2 cents on that and their 2 cents on the new dollar's parity on this week's Point of Order. Check it out.
Thanks, Evan. Well, let's start today with today's big story. Tiger Woods managed to find his way back to the links. No surprise. The big question, though, is will the fans and will the sponsors follow?
Well, speaking of sponsors, wow, how about that Nike ad? I mean, Courtney Love couldn't be more tasteless. It exploits the image, the words of his father, his dead father.
After he won the
exploits
first
his dead father. Yeah, you know what's changed since then?
Too.
Sex with 100 women. It is so exploitative, so tasteless, so ungracious. It is so ridiculous that Nike would associate themselves with the scandal in this fashion, that they would hasten this period of recovery and image nurturing and just try to plunge themselves right into it, exploit it, and make some money off of this scandal. I think Tiger should be ashamed. I think Nike should be ashamed. Tiger better hope like hell he makes the comeback that, personally, I bet that he will, and win this thing this weekend to put that bad smell of that ad behind him fast.
So much money's at stake. Of course Nike was going to do something. Will people come back? They're flocking back. Every Denny's and Perkins waitress in Augusta is lined up to bring him dinner and to bring him dessert. Right? That's not a surprise at all. I mean, the ad was an interesting attempt to put out a story that people could project their own feelings and their own ideas onto. And that's what they tried to do. Some people say it worked, some people didn't. I had a look, though, in the new world, the Twitter world, and what people are saying, instant reaction, 80% thumbs down, 80% saying Nike was too exploitive, too quick, and that your view is actually right. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over a bit of time, whether that takes place or whether that holds or not.
I'm in touch with the tweet universe. That's me, the tweetverse. All right, next topic. Let's spare a moment for Michaël Jean, beloved by Canadians, hated by conservatives, getting the bums rush on Easter weekend. On Easter weekend, the PMO sanctions a leak saying that she's going to be dumped out of the GG's office. This has never been done. It's so ungracious. It's so unseemly. Jaime, what are they doing and who's going to be next?
Scott, what's never been done is there's never been a second term, and I don't think there should be one in this time. What we are seeing, though, is a formula start to play out. CTV reporters go to the Senate. Mike Duffy and Pamela Wallin. CBC reporters go to Rito Hall. Michaël Jean and Adrian Clarkson. And old academics, well, they seem to go and stay at Stornoway, Stéphane Dion and Michael Ignatieff. But all seriousness, yes, Michaël Jean has been an excellent Governor General. You know, she stood with Indigenous people. She's defended our interests in the Arctic. She's supported our troops. And through serendipity, she played a very important role in the horrible crisis that happened in Haiti. I think everyone thinks that she discharged her job with some sense of regal presence. But it's time to move on, and it's time for somebody else. I said at the beginning of the year I thought it might come down to Don Cherry or Mitsou. I think Don Cherry still needed at Hockey Night in Canada, so I say Mitsou, call United Van Lines.
Well, you know, my understanding is that Stephen Harper is looking for someone to take over the spot that he adores, someone that he believes to be an intellectual peer. Constitutional scholars have intervened and reminded him that he can't appoint himself, unfortunately. You know, I really do think it's ungracious. There is a tradition of respect for the institution. You discreetly select, and I was involved in a discreet selection of a next Governor General. It was Michaël Jean. She has more than surpassed her expectations. She lights people up and she inspires people. And I just think that it's a disgrace the way she was treated.
Next up is the Canadian dollar hit parity this week. Canadians hit the American outlet malls, and more of us began to phone our travel agents to book travel out of the country. But what's good for consumers may not be so good for our manufacturers. Scott, what's a government to do?
Well, Jim Flaherty will, according to his track record, do a couple of things. First, he'll stand by and watch as the world whizzes along. Second, he'll congratulate himself immensely for work that he inherited from the Liberal government and Paul Martin.
And
then finally, in the last chapter, he'll find a way to screw it all up. Well, I'm sorry, you missed it 6 years later, but he is still inheriting the fiscal benefit that he has squandered of Paul Martin, and that's what's actually being reflected in the international confidence in our country. Two things, in all seriousness, need to happen, and it's important. First, the government needs to use its bully pulpit to insist that now that we're at par, that those benefits translate to Canadian consumers right away, that we don't pay an extra premium for big box items like cars and washing machines, TVs. We should be getting a cut rate on that just the same as Americans. And the second thing is the manufacturing industry is bleeding. It is hurting. But you know what? It's adaptive, it's smart, it's hustling, and if we can just get a little help in terms of the transition and the focus, I think that there's a role for government to play there, and our manufacturing sector can rally and surpass where it was in the past.
Look, we're going to get some benefits from this. That iPad that everyone wants is going to be cheaper. Our trips and our travel outside of the country cheaper as well. But you're right, business is going to have to adapt because we haven't been as adaptive in terms of productivity enhancements as we should be. We stand 15th in the OECD. I think Sherry Cooper and Mark Carney are right. Our performance is abysmal. It's not where it should be.
But you know what?
This is about something
government
else.
has given up on the manufacturing sector.
This is about something else. This is about an attitude that we are finally equal with the Americans. We're on top, not on bottom anymore.
Yeah, this government has given up on manufacturing, and you know what? The pessimism is unwarranted. All right, finally, prediction time. Britain, election. We got a raging battle now. It looked like it was going to be a walk through the park for Cameron and his Conservatives. Now it's a little bit tighter. Jamie, who's going to win? And is Britain actually headed for that seventh circle of hell that we in Canada have been in for years now, meaning a minority government?
Well, they might be, actually. They call it a hung parliament. But, you know, making a prediction on this one, I think, is a bit of a mug's game. I was in the UK a couple of weeks ago, had a chance to talk to some folks about politics. And, you know, we say at the office that campaigns matter, and they do. And I think in this one, campaigns really do matter.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see what happens as this campaign plays out. I mean, you know, as you know, the Tories need an 8-point lead. They got to hold on to an 8-point lead in order to form a majority government, and that's going to be pretty tough. You've got the Scots and the Welsh not really interested in what Cameron's got on offer. Ulster sitting on one side. You got big chunks of England red no matter what he does. So he's got a big hill to climb. But he has got one thing going for him, and that's change. And that's as powerful a word in politics as free as in consumer marketing.
Absolutely, a silver bullet. And, you know, it'll be interesting. My view is this is a classic clash between message and messenger. I think Gordon Brown, with all his intellectual capacity and his leadership ability, actually brings a message where he's going to say, look, I'm striking a better balance in terms of how to manage a 21st century recovery where we meet the needs of the middle class at the same time we address fiscal and economic concerns. Cameron's more right-wing, going to have more limited message, but Cameron is a better campaigner. And we'll see, but at the end of the day, I'm afraid that my old pal Gordon Brown is might be headed for the exits.
So we'll see in the beginning of May. Well, Evan, that's the time we've got for Point of Order this week. I'm Jaime Watt. We'll be back next week when Scott, I'll be right, and you'll still be wrong.
I'll be Scott Reid, and I'm always right. We'll see you later, Evan.
So many people being right there, you don't know who's left. All right, thanks, guys. Coming up next, the U.S. president